very well established organisation. We have been going since 1985. We developed a first shelter, which is still very strong, an emergency shelter just up the street from Davis Square on Chapel Street in the basement of a church there, which was kind of like where it all began, really. So homelessness prevention, and then we're also then kind of how it then started to spiral. Obviously, you've got the food element, but it started to spiral into looking at trying to address the the issues were that there's no homes available. So then it was a case of us being kind of tenants as SHC for our clients. So actually part of their housing solution could be that we have a grant that pays off kind of the subsidised rent, and we act in a landlord capacity for our clients. So to give you an idea of kind of how we're structured, to make it kind of easy for you to understand kind of where we're at, we have our emergency shelter services provisions. So that's two emergency shelters, one in just at the road, the very first one we had on Chapel Street, and we have one in East Somerville on Cross Street, and that's our family shelter. And we have funding to run both of those units. The shelter here is in Chapel Street, is for up to 14 individuals, so not families, 14 individuals, and that's a mix of male and female. And in order, we don't actually say, hey, you're homeless, come into our shelter. It has to be very much through a system, through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, so through HUD. So there's a process in order to be able to get on there. How a homelessness individual can help themselves is that every day they can kind of get to the top of the list if they ring every day and say, hey, I still need housing. So it can take a while to get to the top of the list, but if somebody is really motivated to be in a shelter, that's kind of what happens. There are also a few exceptions to the rule as well. When we see people who are exceptionally vulnerable and don't speak English as their first language, the lady we're working with at the moment, Haitian Creole, are very vulnerable. But you're like, why is this woman on the street? So there are some a little bit of leeway that we can have with that as well. The family shelter, we have capacity for 5 families at the family shelter. What was really great about, we have a target that we have to meet. We have to get those 5 families in an annual cycle. 5 families moved out of housing and 5 new families in. We did a bit of a head count in June through COVID, and we'd actually managed to get 9 families moved out of our emergency family shelter and into housing. So what was really great, we never closed. We actually opened our shelters 24/7, manned them all the time. Everything was closing down. We opened up to a very vulnerable population with no sanitation, no hand washing facilities, etc. So we kind of, as doors were closing around, we just kind of completely opened up, and that's one of the things that I guess that we're really, really proud of, because we didn't just do that, we did it in a very safe and in a very humane way. We were thinking about, passers-by that usually give people drinks and cash and whatever. They suddenly disappeared, so the whole world disappeared around them. It was like, oh, this is not good. So one of the things I'd like to add at this point about kind of the this homelessness population and our terminology or our name of coalition is that we are a very collaborative organisation because we're so well known. We have a really strong recognition in the community, and we collaborate. Our executive director has been here for 20 years, started off actually as a social worker in the adult shelter over on Chapel Street. He's an awesome man, and really has this strong connection with treating everybody like a human being. And actually, that's not the case for everybody. And he is also so good at fighting the corner of small agencies. So, for example, we are the fiscal agent for the Somerville Food Security Coalition, and that's collaborating with local small agencies. So instead of, oh, we have a need in our area and there's like a little pop-up pantry, it's like, well, we've got all of these resources, let's all come together, let's collectively do this, let's collectively pull that, because we don't want you to waste your time and your energy. We'll take your enthusiasm, but what can we do? Another part of the kind of shelter services angle is outreach as well. So you'll see a lot of people on the streets, and actually the way that I classify it is entrenched homelessness is completely where my heart's at. So I moved over from England 18 months ago with my family here, and I actually worked for a non-profit in England, a homelessness non-profit. And kind of people who are very entrenched in homelessness is completely where my heart is at. And I'm very inspired by the outreach that our team does. So every twice a week now, we've upped it to twice a week. We go out around Somerville. I personally don't. I occasionally do, just because I feel like it's important to. I did, and then I got a full-time job here rather than a volunteer job. But it's really important to as a member of development, to kind of make sure that I completely know who my client base is at all times. So we have kind of an outreach team that go out regularly in Arlington around Alewife, a huge population of homeless people there. There's an encampment there. And we go out on a Wednesday and a Friday, and then it's kind of like the work that we do around Somerville, around Davis Square, kind of walking the streets, and kind of over in Foss Park where the salt piles are as well. And you get quite a lot of immigrants over in that area. So it's kind of like giving the basic needs of food and water and access to that, kind of sanitation. We now regularly add in, do you need any masks? Do you need Band-Aids? Do you need any, those types of things now? And then as soon as we're hitting towards those kind of winter months, then there's the kind of need for the winter hats, the kind of heat warmers, the what you call them, gloves. Space blankets, I've had a baby wipes, because that's accessible, that's their sanitation. So lots of things going on there. So that's the outreach and the emergency services part of what we do. The other side, which I think is a really excellent part, is prevention. So last year we prevented 71 people from being evicted. And kind of basically what that entails is kind of working out, how and why they can't pay their rent, and then writing a check, basically, to keep them in their homes. We find it, we have a pot of money, but we also have about 27 hoops to jump through in order to kind of access that pot of money. One of the things that I always, particularly now the moratorium ended on Saturday, one of the things that I'm really keen to do is to bring in unrestricted funds into Somerville Homeless Coalition. So when kind of like Joe whatever comes in and says, I can't pay my rent, we analyse that. We obviously have a structure in place, we have a process, and we're able to kind of write that check without going through 27 different hoops. So having unrestricted funds.
Is that just for renters, or is it also for people who have mortgages? I'm just curious.
Mainly people who are in subsidised housing, so it will be renters. I very doubt that we have many kind of people who have mortgages, but
foreclosing or something.
But having said that, we have a new profile of a new profile of client. So a client who has had a regular steady job could be in a mortgaged house and suddenly doesn't have a job, and suddenly I think we're all one paycheck away from being homeless.
Yeah.
So I don't have those statistics, but they're quite there could be,
Yeah.
that element of that.
Yeah,
Usually
because there was the foreclosure moratorium, for so long. And so now I'm wondering if there's going to, we've been as real estate, as working in the real estate business, we've been kind of paying attention to that news.
Yeah.
So we know that there's been the foreclosure moratorium, the banks haven't been able to move forward with that. And so now, I don't know, we'll see what happens.
So we are waiting for a huge onslaught of kind of need. Without a doubt. And in the past, so last year I said there's 71 evictions prevented. Already in the first quarter of this fiscal year, we prevented 29 evictions.
Wow.
So and that trend is only going to go up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, speaking with our rapid response case managers, who are the ones that work with folks who are being evicted, this week, since the eviction moratorium ended on Saturday, they've had a huge increase in the number of calls they're getting every day. We are getting calls, multiple calls every single day from folks who need our assistance. So, we're not even a week into this, so we know that it's going to be a huge, there's going to be a huge increase. Yeah.
Wow.
And we have one rapid response prevention manager.
We had two.
We had two,
but now we're down
to one. So we're now recruiting to that position into this real need area. So the recruitment position that we did have was only a short-term contract to get us over a hurdle and response, and that kind of contract came to a natural end, and now we're looking for kind of a full-time position going forward.
Okay.
So it's crazy. It really is. So the prevention side is, one that I like, because you don't want people to get to that point of being homeless, because actually it's very difficult to get into a system.
Mm-hmm.
And actually it's very difficult to advocate for yourself as well, I think. I think if people who have got kind of academic qualifications behind them and English is their first language, then yes, I think you can probably advocate for yourself, but that's not really the profile of our main client base. So it goes back to kind of what Hudson's experience of kind of like poor communities. We have an exceptionally poor community in Somerville and Greater Somerville because of the gentrification that's happened, which we benefit from, bringing wealth, but then it's squeezing out those kind of subsidized housing and just our case managers who look to find housing for individuals and trying to get rent below like $1,800 a month. It's for like a I mean, it's crazy. It's great. It's like monopoly money. Like, really? This person hasn't really got a lot of money. We're not asking for the world. We're not asking for palatial space. We're just asking for them to like have a room and a decent landlord, So the other part is supportive housing. So we prevent people from being evicted. When we have people in housing, we then support them. And I would like to hand over to you, because I know that you met Christian, one of our clients.
Yeah,
recently.
So supportive housing folks they're often folks that we've housed through our services, and they work with case managers for one-on-one support for really however long they need that support. One of our clients, Christian, has been working with us for 9 years. In that time, he's gotten sober. He started out at our adult shelter and has now been living in one of our housing or one of our units for the last 9 years. He's been sober. He still works with his case manager every week. And he, we have so many clients like him who have maybe not been with us quite as long, but the supportive housing factor is so important because they can continue to have a relationship with us that helps them have stability over time, so that if something comes up and they do need assistance in the future, they still have that connection with us.
So, and you said with that, you guys are their landlord essentially, like you.
In some units, yes. So we find the housing for the individuals, and they have a Section 8 voucher or something like that. But also we do act as a landlord. And forgive me because I don't know whether I use the right terminology, but I do believe that we have clients who send the rent to us, and then we have to kind of pay the rent onwards. So I don't know kind of how that all looks. It's a finance thing. I've got, but I do know that it's almost like we collect the rent. Then obviously it goes to whoever it goes to. It's almost like a middleman kind of situation.
But I know we have, I think it's 80 units under, our umbrella as SHC, and then we have other people housed in other kinds of units that are not under that umbrella, but just within our umbrella is 80 units, which last year I believe it was 60, so we added an additional 20 in the last year.
And that's split around Somerville and Arlington, so we have quite a few units over in Arlington. And actually what was a real winner for me was there were some new units that went up in Arlington, and we managed to get a guy who was in our family shelter, a dad of twins, of 6-year-old twins, into his apartment, into a fabulous apartment. Everything was just completely brand new, and it just blew his mind. It was wonderful to kind of be there when he went round and when he introduced Anna and Julia to the home, like, oh my goodness, look at all this space and look at everything that's new. And that's nice when when you're able to kind of facilitate units like that, that are just brand new and make people feel as special as they should feel.
I used to work in Boston, and one of my students and her mom got to move into this amazing new building in Waltham, and it was like the most exciting thing ever. They didn't have any furniture to put inside of it, but they had a gym, and
I get the same. They had no furniture. We had to kind of find furniture during COVID for them, but I was in wish list galore, but it was
but it was like so exciting because it was this gorgeous new building. And one of the low income.
Definitely, and we were also able to house 4 people in that unit. I think there were about 10 units, and we managed to fill 4 of those units. So we were completely blown away by that.
Awesome. So wait, so when you say, sorry, I'm just trying to understand. When you say secure the units, do you guys own properties, or do you guys just work with the owners?
So I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that we lease properties under SHC's name, and then there are also properties that are leased under the client's name.
Okay.
So I don't believe we actually own any property.
That's like the middle agent. That's why the rent comes through comes through to us. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I was just curious because we have a unit that's going up actually really close to the food pantry. That one of them has to be a low income, and it's being sold. Each unit is being sold, but one of them is low income, and is an affordable unit. And so I think there are 6 units, right, Derek?
Yep, there's 6.
Yeah, and so that we know that goes through the city of Somerville. I think it's on lottery. We don't have anything to do with it. They have their people who have the option of getting it, but I was just wondering how that would work. Just curious.
It's good to be curious.
I don't understand all of this, but it's very interesting.
One of the things that I like about case management as well, it's not a surprising thing that Christian, our client, has been sober for 9 years and has been in house for 9 years by us. I think that when I speak to Christian and I say, hey, how are you and Dari? And he's like, oh, he's great. During this time, his mum's passed, his brother's passed. And he said, I get so much more than going to an AA meeting. Yes, it's really important for me to go to those meetings, but they don't want to be listening to kind of my woes and my mental health issues because my, some significant family members have died. He said, and that's why Dar is there. And you know, he's up and down with employment. He managed to get his kind of trucker's his bus driving license, and you know, and then what with benefits, you have to be careful about you don't earn too much money. So there's kind of working that out, and then mental health being in a good place, and yeah, there's a lot going on all the time, and the case managers help to put out fires all the time. One of the things that we're doing as well is that, you know, as part of what you do with the Thanksgiving program, where the case managers are therefore responsible for kind of figuring out who needs kind of these Thanksgiving kind of kits. But at the same time, you know, we'll be putting out a holiday gift drive out. So again, it will be, hey, case managers, these are your clients. Here's a template of like top 3 wish lists from you know, for Christmas or gifts for the holiday season. Let us know, and then we coordinate an activity with you know, gift giving in December for families that don't have the money to be able to afford those gifts. We prefer them to spend it on rent and food.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then there's soup. And then there's Project Soup. That's our fourth one. And with Project Soup as well comes like a community meal every Monday, which we actually pay $500 every Monday to provide up to 100 community meals. So there's just a huge need for keeping people, you know, food secure, or having an outlet to be able to get food that they may not
That's
have.
what they were saying. So many of their people were, many of them come in, but many of them need food delivered because they.
Yeah.
We really appreciate all that you guys do. I mean, it's really amazing the work that you do. You know, we feel like we're on the, you know, the complete other end, where we're, you know, helping people who have the ability to just, you know, walk into a nice home, and you guys are making sure that that people who really need to stay in those homes do get to. So we see what you guys do, and we would, you know, we really believe in your mission, and yeah, we would love to really continue to partner with you and send people in your direction, because, you know, we care about all of Somerville, not just the part that we get to interact with. You know, so, and we really want, especially if we have people moving into that community, we want to be able to encourage them to care for it as well, and kind of lead them in that direction. So yeah, we're really appreciative of you.
Awesome, we love that. Yeah, we really appreciate all of this.